Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to tackle an issue which is dividing the rejoiner, not really Remainer, what we might have called Remainer opinion at the moment, in terms of the fact that Labour is likely to support the Brexit deal if and when it comes before Parliament for a vote. And I'm going to add my thoughts onto those. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. Now, just to stop you panicking, by the way, going, oh, Labour say they're going to support the deal. Oh, does that mean there's been a deal, Phil? No. Or maybe, but I don't think so. Not the point I'm doing this, and the point I'm doing this is quite close to when it is going to go out. But there's all the talk of it, and Labour need to get themselves sorted out in case it happens, because Boris Johnson, if he does strike a deal and he brings it before Parliament, he may do it very, very quickly, and Labour may have to sort their position out. Now, Labour, first of all, this comes, I'm talking about a tweet here which you can see. It's from Remainer Now. Now, although I'm going to disagree with the general thrust of this tweet, I am going to say, if you are on Twitter and you don't follow Remainer Now, I would strongly encourage you to do so. Very, very good account showing effectively it provides a platform for people who did support Brexit and now do not. But the particular issue here is there's a report in The Sun. Now, I know what you're going to say, that's The Sun. Come on, Phil. They're always trying to stir. We don't necessarily know it's even true. No, we don't. However, I do know that the Labour leadership were discussing this with Labour MPs last week, I believe. And the general idea was, although they want to wait to see the deal itself, they want to see the detail, they were minded to support it. Now, I've already done a video on what were Labour's four options with this. If a deal comes before them, they had four options. They can either whip their MPs to support it, they can whip their MPs to oppose it, they can whip their MPs to abstain from it, or they can give a free vote. And I already laid out where I thought the political pitfalls in all of those options were. None of them are good options for Labour. But then arguably they're not great options for the Conservatives potentially either. However, on this tweet, I'll read it out and then I'll just say where there's one thing that potentially is true, but the rest of it I think is spurious. Now, it says here, in response to this news, I'm really sorry, but surely there must be a time where you have to make a stand against something you know will make the public poorer and decrease opportunities. Otherwise, when Brexit is a disaster, it's much harder to hold those who pursued it to account. Now, here is where it is wrong. First of all, the deal does not make the public poorer or decrease opportunities. It just flat doesn't do that objectively. Brexit makes us poorer. Brexit reduces our opportunities. Not a single. Now, we don't know what the deal will say. We do not know what the deal is going to be. But I will tell you something. When that deal comes out, I absolutely guarantee that not a single line in the deal will either make us poorer or reduce our opportunities. In fact, they will do the opposite. Not enough. Not to the extent that it should do. Obviously, we know the best possible Brexit deal is membership of the EU. Full membership. And we had, and that's the best deal on its own. And we had a load of shiny extras as well, making it we already had a Brexit deal plus rebate, plus special exceptions, plus basically doing whatever the hell we liked. The deal that we get here will not do any of those things that they're suggesting. And this brings me on to my second point. Now, some people are bringing out these so-called 6 key tests. So, 3 years ago, I think it was now, when the Theresa May's government was trying to negotiate the withdrawal agreement, Labour stated its position. Of course, that position was stated by Keir Starmer, who was at the time the shadow Brexit secretary. And he laid out 6 key tests. Now, people are calling it Starmer's 6 key tests. Let's be clear here. Keir Starmer presented them on behalf of Labour, but these were Labour's 6 key tests. Remember, Jeremy Corbyn was leader at the time. We do not know what Keir Starmer would have said had he been leader at the time. Now, the other thing about these 6 key tests is, will the deal that Boris Johnson presents to Parliament meet these key tests? No, and I'm not going to go through them. You could look them up yourself because it's completely irrelevant, because it's spurious. At the time, this was 2017, if a withdrawal agreement came before the House of Parliament, then in the Commons, Labour MPs had a choice between supporting the deal or supporting remaining in the EU. Because if there wasn't a withdrawal agreement, obviously Parliament at the time were never going to allow us to leave without a deal. This current Parliament might be mad enough to, but that Parliament was not. So it was the difference between a deal and not leaving the EU, at which point the 6 key tests were absolutely fine. Now, don't get me wrong, those 6 key tests would also apply to this deal if Labour were negotiating it. If Jeremy Corbyn had won the general election, some mad universe where that was possible, don't come back at me for that, it was not possible. And Labour were negotiating it because Jeremy Corbyn said he was going to renegotiate the withdrawal agreement, didn't he? The 6 key tests, of course, would still apply, but it's not Labour doing it. And it's not a choice between a deal and not leaving the EU. It's a choice between this deal, which is a completely different deal, by the way. That was the withdrawal agreement. We've already got that. That's done. No vote needed on that. It's already happened. It's the difference between this deal and no deal. There are no tests to be applied. In fact, there's one test. I tell a lie. The one test to be applied is it better than no deal? Yes, it is. That's all there is to it. Labour do not get a say. In case people hadn't noticed, they're in opposition, very badly in opposition. They have fewer MPs than they have had since before the Second World War, since the 1930s. They are not in a position to dictate what should be in this deal. Now, I will concede, because when it goes on to the next bit here, it says, when Brexit is a disaster, it's much harder to hold those who pursued it to account. Now, here is where maybe, on the issue of politics, if Labour vote for the deal and the deal goes through, do they potentially own some of the deal? Maybe. But in terms of the consequences, remember, the negative consequences will not be down to the deal. The negative consequences will be down to what the deal doesn't cover. So in actual fact, although I'm not saying that Labour should support the deal. There's definitely an argument for opposing it. However, but I'll come to why I would still support them supporting the deal, if you like, in a moment. And this is where Labour have to therefore have the political agility to frame the argument. Okay, if the Conservatives try to say to Labour, well, any disaster that unfolds is partly your fault because you voted for the deal, they need to be able to say it's not the deal that's the problem here. The reason we have chaos at our borders, for example, that's not the deal. The deal didn't cover that. That's you leaving the customs area. The fact that we are no longer in the EU's customs union is therefore, and our official position is to be in a customs union with the EU. That's what they need to do. You know, anything at all, anything negative with Brexit is not down to the deal. It's down to what the deal doesn't cover. And that's what Labour need to frame. And quite frankly, if the Labour Party cannot frame that argument, then they're not going to win power anyway, because that's one of the easiest political arguments to have. One of the very easiest. But here's where, even though, you know, I am in various minds as to what to do if I were Labour leader. And I do not know what those discussions amongst the Labour leadership were exactly. So I don't know exactly. Right? In the Sun, they're talking about it. They're supporting the deal in order because there'll be people in the north of England who support the deal. And if they oppose it, and let's say the deal is sunk because enough Tory rebels also vote against it, which is well on the cards, there's more of a danger of Labour then being responsible for... Because the Conservative government can then say that all of the job losses down to Brexit were down to the fact that we didn't get the deal. If we'd have got the deal, we'd have saved all of those jobs. Now, we know that's not true. But could Labour make that argument to the public? I would say that's a lot more difficult argument to make. Because that's speculation. Speculation's a difficult argument to win. Very difficult. Whereas, if we have the deal and then there are negative consequences that got nothing to do with the deal, you can point in black and white to where the issue is. But here is the thing, first and foremost. Why, if Labour, and I say if, we do not know what the Labour's position is going to be yet, and we will not know until the deal has been seen, and then they will announce their official position. But until that happens, if we go on the assumption that they will support the deal, here's what I would say about it. If the reason that they are wishing to support the deal is because it helps them become more electable, it shows more responsibility to members of the public, and they use it as a platform to say, right, we've got this basic deal, and then they push the government, right, let's start to work on a fruitful relationship with the EU and start to build on that deal and get a better deal, right? You've got another 12 months, get us something better now, Boris. Right, after that, another 12 months, get something better. Build the deal up. And they take the leadership on that, because forget about instantly rejoin, it ain't going to happen. We can rejoin at some point. We cannot rejoin while these authoritarian layabouts are still in power. So the bottom line for me is the only thing that matters for me is this. This is all that matters to me. The poll tracker, which has now shown that Labour and the Conservatives are really very close to level pegging. And also a little bit of danger. A couple of weeks ago, Labour just sneaked ahead. Now they've just sneaked below. Not because the Conservatives have had a good week or two. They have not. They've stayed where they were. Labour lost a bit of ground to the Lib Dems and the Greens, which shows again the danger that Labour always face. The left-wing vote is split. They have to counter that as well. I want Labour to... There's certain arguments I would just on principle like them to have. But do you know what? I'll throw them all in the bin if they will pursue, at the moment, one core aim, to the exclusion of all else: form a government. 2024, form a government. Bring electoral reform, proportional representation. Anything that they do that helps them do that is fine by me. And do you know what? As long as this poll tracker carries on and Labour over the next, as we get to the next election, starts to extend a lead over the Conservatives, and it'll go up and down, it'll cross over again, but move in the right direction and keep moving in the right direction. As long as they do that, even though I might have my private little quibbles on individual policies, I'll back it all, because that's what matters now. What doesn't matter is making a pointless stand that doesn't change the outcome and ensuring that in 2024 we haven't just had another 4 years of these miscreants in charge, but we end up with another decade. That's my view. But anyway, let me know yours. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.